Hey folks, I don't think I've ever covered Christmas songs in December, but I always see the other blue tubers doing that. So this year we're going to give into the peer pressure, but we're going to do it with a twist. Instead of giving you these big, full, fancy arrangements with all the tricks and the doodads on them, I'm going to use this as a teaching moment. So we're going to learn 3 arrangements that are going to teach you how some classic bluegrass and country guitar techniques work. By the way, just like always, the tab for these bad boys is going to be available at lessonswithmarcel.com for free. Now, the first song we're looking at is a cross-picking arrangement of Silent Night, and this arrangement comes from one of the other LWM instructors. It comes from Mickey Abraham. He showed it to me in one of our teacher calls.
Hey there, it's Mickey Abraham from Lessons with Marcel, and I've got a really interesting guest today.
Now, if you're a fan of the channel, you probably recognize Mickey from all the interviews he does with people like Stash and Dan Miller. There's more Mickey interviews to come, by the way, but if you have no background in cross-picking, a really simple way to explain it is that it mimics the 3-finger roll style of a banjo. Now, if you don't really know how banjo works, here's another nice way to look at it. It's a constant stream of 8 notes. That includes the melody notes, but all of those empty 8 notes get filled with chord tones and arpeggios that outline the chord structure or the harmony. Anyway, let's look at the melody for Silent Night. This is the melody we all know and love. It's written out nice and straight. Notice the chords up above. We're going to need those in a second. But first, we really want to see how many 8 notes could fill up each measure. So let's look at that now. We're in 3/4, so we expect 6 8 notes per measure. And with the music written like this, you can really see where all of the cross-picking would go. Every single one of those little rest symbols has to become a chord tone. Now let's look at a couple measures close up and let's figure this thing out. So one of the big tricks to a standard cross-picking arrangement is that the melody stands out more when it ends up as either the highest note or the lowest note in a given 3-note roll. So for this first line, I could place the melody on the low end of the roll. By the way, look at all of these rolls. These groupings of 3 are what replicate that banjo style. That's what I'm calling a roll. In the next line of the simple melody, I notice that the notes in the melody are quite high. So I might put the melody on top with the rolls extending below the melody. Once again, we're trying to make sure the melody stands out to the listener. You rinse and repeat for the entire tune and you have yourself a cross-picking arrangement. The next tune we're looking at is a country 6th arrangement of "Oh Christmas Tree." Now, if you don't know how country musicians use country 6ths, you probably still know this lick. That's country 6. Now, the fastest way to explain how it works is with a 3rd interval. So here's a C and an E right here. Fretted C note, open high E string. Now, if I take that E note and I drop it down the octave, that's a 6th. So to explain that even more clearly, my first 2 notes are a 3rd because C, D, E. They're 3 notes apart, right? Now I take that higher note, I drop it down the octave, and now they're a 6th apart, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, E, F, G, A, B, C. So it's like an inside-out 3rd. Before we go any further, let's look at that simple arrangement for "Oh Christmas Tree." Once again, here's the simple melody we all know. The chords might be a little more complicated than you expected, but that's standard fare with Christmas tunes. If we take this simple melody and do the 6th transformation to every melody note, it now looks like this. Notice that there are only 2 6 shapes on these string sets. Either the low note is shifted forward by 1 fret, or both notes appear on the same fret. Only 2 shapes. That'll be true for our entire arrangement. Also, check out my right hand. I'm hybrid picking all of these 6ths. Pick hits the low note and the middle finger plays the high note with a pinching motion. We're not done though. The real excitement of the 6th style comes from splitting up the 2 notes. So compare the simple 6th melody to an embellished 6th melody. Some 6th intervals remain unchanged, others have been split, so you hear the notes at different times. Lastly, Some of these moments have slides anticipating the target sixth. You might also notice that I've chosen to voice some sixths on different string sets. That's mostly to facilitate slides, where I want to be a slidey boy. For instance, right here I can't slide into open strings, but I can slide into 5th fret. Take a listen to the complete arrangement. Lastly, we're doing a floating arrangement of Deck the Halls. Now, if you don't know what floating is, the idea is pretty simple, but the execution can be really brutal. You just fret notes up the neck and you include open strings down by the nut. So it'll look like this. Becomes a lick like this. It creates a really pretty kind of like angelic sound. The country guys sometimes call this harp scales as well. Anyway, let's get into it. Here's the simple melody for Deck the Halls. Alright, last time. This is the classic melody that we've heard 1,000 times for Deck the Halls. Notice my arrangement is in the key of G, and I've laid it out so I can maximize the number of open strings. This is kind of the opposite of the 6th, where I wanted to get away from the open strings. Now I want all of the open strings. Give them to me. None of these open strings will change when we start floating. They're all going to stay where they are, and we're going to fret those notes higher. So now let's do a simple transformation. We're going to take all of the fretted notes and we're going to find places up the neck to play those same notes. Once again, all of the open strings stay where they are, and that makes our arrangement sound like this. So you can hear already in this performance, this is a really interesting sound. All of those open strings ring against each other, they ring against the fretted notes, and it creates this real like texture. But we're not done yet. I want to fill this thing up more. So now, using chord tones, drones, and slides, I want to fill space. So notice the chord tones added to the first measure, or maybe the droning of the G note here. We play that G fretted and open. The slides move us up and down the neck at the beginning and the end of that first line. This feels more like floating to me, but I didn't stop there. I added a few double stops and harmonics in this arrangement just for the hell of it. So check it out. Thanks for watching today. I hope this gave you some ideas, not just for your Christmas tunes, but for anything else you might find yourself picking on. Remember that the tab is free. It's on my website, lessonswithmarcel.com, and if you're there, you might as well check out the Tony Rice transcription book that I made. It's over 100 pages. It's free, but there is a box where you can type in a number if you want to be generous and give me a tip. It's not required by any means, otherwise just type in 0. You don't hurt my feelings. I put it out there for free for a reason. I want the community to have it. Thank you so much for watching. Merry Christmas. I'll see you in the new year.